Okay, I'll be discussing linear and angular momentum and how they apply to Besser's will. And we have Newton's laws of motion, courtesy of NASA. An object at rest remains at rest, and an object in motion remains in motion at a constant speed and in a straight line, unless acted by an unbalanced force. With Besser's will, this disk right here, which there's two of them, one on each side, and these levers will rotate this disk. When that disk rotates in a clockwise direction, it lifts this weight outward. And so then that is an unbalanced force right here. It's not a part of the wheel. It does not rotate or move. It is on the stand. And so when it's on the stand, the lever right here has resistance and uses leverage to rotate this. So then when the weight is increasing in velocity because of the downward force of gravity, that is linear momentum. For actual literal purposes, when this weight is rotating in a circle around the axle of the wheel, it is also linear momentum. I'm calling it angular momentum because when it is lifted, coming towards bottom center, it's in a balanced position. Here it's underbalanced because of that disc will cause the hoist to lift it. That's what hoists do. And so I'm saying that once it moves closer to the axle until it is its furthest distance from the axle, it can be both linear and angular momentum, because this path right here is about what it will follow, and it will be dropping while it's moving further from the axle of the wheel. And in that instance, it's both angular momentum because its rate distance from the axle is changing, but then once it's past the center line, once it's on this side, gravity will start acting on it, so that will be linear force, which is a force acting straight down to accelerate it. And this difference here allows for the rotation of the wheel. And an example of linear momentum, mass times velocity equals, force or momentum. It can be either way. F equals ma is force, and P equals mv is mass times velocity equals momentum. And then with angular momentum, this is hyperphysics, and it tells us how to quantify centripetal force. And as you notice, it's not centered right here, and it can show inverse square law like the Earth orbiting the sun, or even a perpetual wheel like Besser's rotating. It'll show how force is greater and the time it takes increases because of larger radius. And so all these things get factored according to what Newton's laws of motion allow for, which gets into angular and linear momentum and what those calculations allow for. And then with this, I'm using 8 weight wheels, but with 4, it can be calculated, and then it'll be twice the force is what this allows for. And so it is a lot of work building this, designing it, and doing everything by myself. But if I wanted to get it done, and I'm the only person, haven't been allowed to work with anybody, because scientists say that linear momentum cannot be conserved as angular momentum, but the laws of thermodynamics allows for a force like momentum to change from linear momentum to angular momentum if an unbalanced force, which is Newton's laws of motion, acts on it. So they've been ignoring what science actually teaches and what math can describe.